Peter Summerlin with Capital Intelligence, BBN. My question is, we know, everybody's noticed that this balloon issue has really distracted all public attention from the Russian offensive in Ukraine. Do you think that was intentional, or is it a coincidence?
I would say probably more of a coincidence. I mean, yeah, there may be public attention, maybe our attention has it.
Yeah.
As a department.
But the public, yeah.
I mean, we've got to be able to do, for our security with our allies and partners, and as I say, be able to walk and chew gum at the same time, and have the capability to be able to do both. And that's what we're going to stay focused on, both, and really everything else that's going on around the world as well.
The young lady up here in the Super Bowl, because you did mention you're a big NFL fan. But the second is about the events since Friday of objects of some shape and size and origin traversing airspace and being shot down. I will say that I have a 12-year-old son, and this has very much captured his attention and his imagination. He has a lot of curiosities, as I sure do a lot of the members of the public nationwide. And so I'm hoping that you're able to share something about how we, reading these accounts in the news, can think usefully and productively about what we're seeing and what we should understand about the military response as it happens.
Well, the Super Bowl, also for a good game because the Cowboys won it. The events over the past several days and really the past couple of weeks, we as a military have the responsibility for homeland defense, and we take that seriously. And so the events of the high altitude, the very high altitude of 60,000 feet or so off the coast of South Carolina, I think was something that got all of our attention as we looked at over the course of the past week or so is the better scrutiny of our airspace. Also the adjusting of the radar sensitivities, which means we're seeing more things than we normally see. But we don't fully appreciate and understand exactly what we're seeing. And so as we probably do the recovery efforts for some of the things that we shot down, we'll know more. The key part for us is to make sure we are in a position to defend the United States as well as what we do abroad. And as I said, we take that part seriously. My job here is really to provide the capability to organize, train, and equip. And then in this case, Regional Grand Hurricane, NORAD does the operational aspect of the execution. And we want to make sure that he has, again, just like anything else we do for any other commands, ensure that they have all the capabilities to the best of our ability to do what he's doing on the defense aspect.
Okay, thanks very much.
And now I wanted to, for my last question, ask a little bit about sort of a more synthesizing question, but ask about time frame for preparing for potential conflict. And again, you and I have both already said today that if the war happens, that's already failure of deterrence and not the goal. But there have been a lot of people speaking about what time frame they think a Chinese attack on Taiwan in particular might be the most likely. General Minahan spoke recently to that and suggested 2025. Earlier, Admiral Davidson, the former commander for Pacific Command, had talked about how he thought Xi Jinping was focused more on 2027. Xi Jinping himself has said he wants a military that's readier and more capable by 2027, implying that he might want to use it. Other people, any Secretary Blinken has even weighed in on this topic in the U.S. intelligence community. So I wanted to ask you, from a U.S. Air Force point of view, since your job is to train and prepare the force, and therefore you have to think about the near term, the medium term, and the long term, do you have a time frame in mind for when the Chinese threat is the greatest or most acute? And do you think that China is likely to attack Taiwan, or is this really, is war likely, or is it just something that, heaven forbid, we have to worry about, but really should be able to deter if we get our ducks in a row?
Well, let me start off with I can't predict the future, but I can shape it. And I shape the future by being ready. And that's where I look at things. I don't see that conflict is imminent or inevitable, and the goal is to avoid it. And so, not knowing when things might occur, my goal is to be ready, today, tomorrow, next week, next year, next decade, and set ourselves as an Air Force to have capability and capacity to be able to provide options for the president. We work very closely with our joint teammates and with our allies and partners. And, those that, as you mentioned, there's been speculation. That speculation is not necessarily helpful. I've been disappointed by some of the comments that have been made associated with it, because it takes away from what we're really trying to get to do, is to make sure we're going to be ready. And that's where the real focus is, to be ready and think about it with a sense of urgency, so we don't wake up one day and say, look, I wish we had done something. We can kind of see maybe some trend lines. And so that's where I really think about my responsibilities. Less so to try to predict anything, but the goal is to make sure we're as ready as possible, no matter when, and really pay attention to the geostrategic environment as well. So we're doing the right things to be ready, and not, sometimes folks say, fighting the last war, get thinking about how conflict might evolve in the future with the changing nature of war and the interest.
Thank you.
Because it changes maybe the base, but the intent is still the same.
Well, it's really heartening to hear that there's progress being made. Data work is really hard, which is why we need people getting PhDs in data science and coming in and applying their talents. Another sort of bigger picture, Mike asked about, timelines in Taiwan specifically. What is your view of the role of military force in the U.S.-China relationship broadly? How do you think about and your perceptions of how they use military force to achieve that and what that means and requires of our military forces in return?
Well, there's a couple things I think is we often talk about the rules-based international order. There's those that have talked about, and I think even Secretary Austin's mentioned that they're trying to reshape the order into to their own image or their own liking. I also think about the aspect of national defense strategy and integrated deterrence. And the PRC is not just looking at things from a military perspective, it is really across the instruments of power we talk about, diplomatic, information, military, and economic. I do think that for the military, it's a small M compared to the DI and the information place piece. I think another vital point we have to think about is that changes the perception of allies and partners or countries in the region, how we all respond to various areas. From the military piece, I do think about the aspect of us having a combat credible force. That sends a message. That can play in the information space. But it helps to back up what we're doing economically as a nation. It also helps to back and work and support our diplomats. I do think about what we're doing to make sure we have and stay in the most respect, not just the Air Force, but our joint force as well. I do pay attention, of course, to what the PRC is doing from a capability standpoint, because I want to make sure we stay ahead of the threat. I can't predict what the PRC might do or how they might execute, but I just want to make sure we have all the capabilities as much as possible to provide options.
Thanks. I've got a